everybody, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm coming at you with a cooking video today. Now, I'm not no expert in the kitchen by any means, but I do have a recipe that my mom gave to me, and Mom, thank you for the recipe. And this is a recipe that's easy to make. You need a crock pot, very easy, and it's Mexican lasagna. So even though this video might seem a little bit out of the norm in relation to the type of videos that I normally put on my channel, I want to explain one thing real quickly, and that's any kind of video content that I think might be a good video idea. Those are the kind of videos that I like to put on my channel. So I'm going to share this recipe with you, and I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Okay, so obviously the first thing that you'll need is a crock pot. Nothing crazy, and make sure that the one that you get has low temperature on it. Okay, so try to have a crock pot that'll do low. The next thing that you need is some ground beef. Now, 1 pound of ground beef, and I'm using 85% lean. In fact, this is about the lowest I would go as far as how lean the ground beef should be. If you can get anything a little more lean than this would be better, but I'm using 85% today. The next thing that you'll need is 1 envelope of taco seasoning, and this envelope happens to be, what is it, 1.25 ounces taco seasoning. Chunky salsa, 1 can, 24 ounces, make sure it's chunky. 1 can of diced tomatoes, this happens to be a 14-ounce can. You'll need 1 jar, 16 ounces of Alfredo sauce. You'll need 4 cups of Mexican style cheese. Fiesta cheese is what I have here. You'll need some lasagna oven ready noodles. And last but not least, a mixing bowl. And of course, something to cook your ground beef in. So that's a quick look of the items that you'll need. Okay, so the first step in the process to making this Mexican lasagna is taking the lid off the crock pot, and using our salsa, we're going to dump 1/4 of this jar into the crock pot. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just approximately 1/4 of it. Give or take a little bit, okay? So down inside, you can see, just kind of swirling it around, and basically what you're doing is you're coating the bottom of this. Hope you can see that. The next step in the process is to start browning the ground beef. So I'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay, at this point, I like to take the ground beef, approximately 1 pound, and start to brown the ground beef. Make sure that you use a good sized pan that you have plenty of room, because we're going to mix some more stuff in here in a minute. I'm just using a standard 10-inch cast iron skillet. So I'm just breaking it up and browning it up. Okay, right now I'm in the middle of browning up my ground beef. I have a 10-inch cast iron skillet that I like to use. I like using these larger skillets because I need the sides, you know, the high walls, because I'm planning on adding some other stuff into this pan here in a minute. Another thing I want to talk about is the type of ground beef. You know, I showed earlier that we're using 85% lean or higher. The reason for that is because if you get your ground beef all cooked, and suppose you couldn't get lean ground beef, you're going to have to drain the ground beef once you've browned it before you continue on to the next step. So again, I'm just browning up this ground beef. Okay, when the ground beef is just about done, you know, and there's hardly any pink left, I want to go ahead and take my salsa and put it into my ground beef. And that's why I was saying earlier that you need a high side type bowl, or pan I should say. So I'm just mixing the salsa in, and I'm also turning the heat off at this point. So the salsa's going into the mix. We're going to kind of mix it in. We're also going to take our taco seasoning, put it in the mix as well. If you're using a regular pan that's going to cool quickly, you might not want to turn the heat off at this point, but I do because I use cast iron, and the iron holds enough heat to keep everything together. So I'm just mixing in my taco seasoning, I'm mixing in my salsa, I'm making one nice little mix here. Sure smells good. Okay, at this point I want to take my diced tomatoes and pour them into the mix as well. So the whole thing of diced tomatoes goes in there. Now you can see why I recommended earlier that we needed a good sized skillet, because we have all of this stuff in there. 10-inch cast iron, from what I know, works good. Perfect size. So now we have all the diced tomatoes mixed in with the salsa, mixed in with the taco seasoning, in with the ground beef. From here, we're going to let that mix just sit. Okay, now the heat of the cast iron will keep it nice and warm for us, but it's done cooking for the most part. Now I'm going to take my wooden spoon and I'm going to go wash it. And I'll show you the next step. Okay, here we are ready for the next step. I'm going to take my cheese, my Fiesta cheese. This is 4 cups. Okay, so I'm going to pinch off and leave about a cup behind, and I'm going to put approximately 3 cups into this medium-sized bowl. So again, I want to leave some of it behind, about a cup if possible. So I'm just kind of pinching off and put the majority into the bowl. So I'm saving approximately a cup. Three cups of cheese. From here I'm going to put my Alfredo sauce in with the cheese. Put all of it in there. And I'm mixing the Alfredo sauce into the cheese. You saw me cheat, didn't you? And so this is what we've done. Nice little mix there. Okay, at this point you can see all three items. I've got hamburger meat, noodles, and cheese. Now that's the order that they need to go into the crock pot. Hamburger, noodles, cheese. Hamburger, noodles, cheese. That's the layers. But before we put any hamburger meat into the crock pot, we need to take one layer of noodles to start. So I'm just taking these guys and I'm laying them down in there, breaking them to get them to fit to cover the bottom of the crock pot. Whoops. Okay. Something like that. Doesn't have to be fancy. It's at this point that we can start putting the mixes in. Now, I'm going to use the same spoon now because we're going to go ahead and put it into the crock pot. So I'm going to do a layer of hamburger. I'm just putting it in there. Nice thin layer, nothing too thick. Another layer of noodles. And now let's go with some cheese. Depending on the size of your crock pot will determine how many layers of everything you'll get. Now, from past experience, I found that I generally get 2 layers of cheese. Now it's time for more hamburger. Remember, hamburger, noodles, cheese. Then back to hamburger. Go. More noodles. And let's go with the last layer of cheese here. This is a fun recipe to do if you have children. They love it because of the layers, and it's fun. It's not that difficult of a recipe. So I'm just smoothing this around inside. So that's what the cheese layer would look like. From here I'm going to put the rest of this ground beef right on top. Here comes the last of the ground beef. Just kind of layer it right on top of the cheese. Try to get a nice even layer. So that's what we're looking at. And from here, remember the leftover cheese? We're going to put it on top and we're going to go ahead and set this thing to low. Just taking the cheese, sprinkling it all over the top. Let's take a closer look. So that's what we look like. And that's our Mexican lasagna. From here we're going to put the lid on and let that baby cook for 4 hours. And after 4 hours, we'll be ready to eat. Okay, it's about 2 hours in. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. It's looking pretty tasty. Smelling good too. I cannot wait till that's done. It's gonna be good. Well, here it is, everybody. It's been 4 hours. Wow, that looks awfully tasty. I'm going to cut into this and see how it tastes. So let me go ahead and set up my camera here. And I'm going to turn this from low down to warm. And I'll use a little metal spatula here to cut in. This is a very easy meal to cook. Let's see if I can get my spatula in there. Looks awfully tasty. And that's what it looks like. I'm ready to go eat. It's an excellent lasagna, easy to make. Not too many ingredients. So I want to say thank you everybody for watching. Feel free to comment, feel free to subscribe, like, thumbs up, share. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you got some good useful information out of it. And until next time, thanks for watching. Stay tuned and we'll see you next time. Have a beautiful day everybody. Bye bye now.